As I was about to leave the conference room, Emily suddenly exclaimed softly. Her eyes were fixed straight on me. While other employees were still around, Emily opened her mouth as if she had made up her mind. "Mr. Turner, do you have any time available during your stay in the US?" Faced with her imploring look, I was taken aback, but her earnest gaze made me instinctively nod. "My name is Adam Turner, 42 years old. I work in IT. Today, I am traveling by plane. I wonder how she's doing right now. Every time I board a plane, I always remember a child." 22 years ago, I had been accepted to a university in Japan and was on a plane to move there. A girl, about 10 years old, was sitting next to me, and next to her, a man who seemed to be her father, was struggling to put her to sleep. It's really hard to sleep on planes, isn't it? While empathizing with the girl who couldn't sleep, I spent my time reading a book. Eventually, I started hearing the girl's snores, and her father seemed relieved and fell asleep as well. Although I was too excited and hopeful about the new world to feel sleepy, I put on an eye mask to at least rest my eyes. Just then, I heard the sound of sniffles from next to me. Quietly, I took off my eye mask and looked next to me to see the girl silently crying. I was surprised and whispered to her, "What's wrong?" Since everyone else was asleep, I asked her in a hushed tone. "I'm scared," the girl answered in a low voice. "Scared of what?" I asked gently. "My brother's surgery." Upon further inquiry, I learned that her brother was undergoing a major operation in Japan, and she was traveling to Japan to be with him. I'd hate for my brother to be gone. This kind-hearted girl was anxious about the possibility of losing her brother if the surgery did not succeed, and this had made it impossible for her to sleep. I tried to offer words of encouragement, but they didn't seem to stop her tears. That's it. I got an idea and rummaged through my bag. Then, I pulled out a small game console. "Do you like games?" I asked quietly, and the girl nodded, so I placed the game console in her hands. "Try playing this." She began operating the game console with a look of bewilderment. In fact, this game console was one I had made myself. Ever since middle school, I had dreamed of being involved in game development, and during high school, as I was exploring my career path, a university in Japan became an option. While studying for the entrance exams, I made this small game console. Now, the girl was playing on the very first portable game console I had built from parts. It was a very simple shooting game, but she became absorbed in playing it. It seemed to make her tears recede. Since it was simple, she was able to complete it quickly. When she completed it, she turned the screen towards me with a satisfied smile. "What does it say here?" she asked, and I leaned in to look. My name, Adam Turner." In general, when you complete a game, the names of the staff who worked on it scroll across the screen. I mimicked that and programmed it to display my name when completed. But now that I showed it to the girl again, I felt a bit embarrassed. I found myself blushing slightly. "Adam, is your name Adam?" I blushed a bit again. At this point, I just went with it. "Yay, sounds strong, right? It can even beat your brother's illness." I waved my fists around to show her. The girl watched my gesture, and her eyes lit up. "Really, can it cure his illness?" Her voice was a bit loud, and her father, who had been sleeping next to her, woke up. The father was surprised to see his daughter awake and felt embarrassed that I had been entertaining her, repeating his thanks several times. "It's okay. I was getting bored too." Embarrassed about having woken up, the father readjusted the blanket over his daughter, urging her to go back to sleep quickly. Maybe the gaming made her a bit sleepy, her eyes grew heavy, and soon she fell asleep. Hours later, she woke up and played with my game again. I was glad to see her so engrossed. Just as the announcement came that the plane was preparing to land, the father nudged the girl, who reluctantly tried to give the game back to me. But I shook my head. "It's fine. Keep it." The father tried to refuse, but the girl looked a bit happy. Her adorable face made me smile. That was the first game I ever made. I'm glad she enjoyed it so much, so please keep it. I said this to the father, then turned to the girl. "When your brother gets better, play this game together, okay?" With a smile, she nodded vigorously. "Thank you." Her sparkling smile gave me courage. This is why I make things that can captivate people. For this, I'll study hard. With such determination and hope in my heart, I parted from the girl and landed in Japan. It seems I've been lost in memory for quite a while. An announcement that we were about to land came over the intercom. I wonder how she's doing now. I don't know the outcome of her brother's surgery, but hopefully, he's still living well today. With these farts, I disembarked from the plane. I headed for the company at my destination, transferring from train to taxi and safely arriving. As I entered and looked around the lobby, "Oh, excuse me. Are you the subcontractor?" a voice called out. I turned to see a young man in his 30s looking at me with a smile. "Yes." As I responded with a startled voice, the man hurriedly explained. "I'm so sorry. I tried contacting you several times but couldn't get through. I have an urgent meeting now. If we could reschedule our meeting to another day, it would really help me out. I'm really sorry, especially since it's our first meeting." Apparently, this man who kept apologizing had mistaken me for someone else. I was puzzled, but just as I was about to correct him. "Hey, Kevin," a woman's voice echoed in the lobby. Then, the man in front of me looked up and turned around. It seems this man was Kevin. "I told you I absolutely have to be at today's meeting." As she approached, the woman was using crutches. Despite the cast on her left leg, she skillfully moved forward with determination. She looked at Kevin with an expression of anger, yet she was incredibly beautiful. Her eyes were wide and double-lidded, with long eyelashes. Her well-shaped eyebrows formed a beautiful arch, adding to her exotic aura. While I was still in shock, a quarrel had already started between Kevin and this woman. "Emily, you just had an accident, right? I told you to take the day off. I can explain everything since I was involved too." The woman, apparently named Emily, retorted. "It's just a fracture. I said I would crawl if I had to. I was the main developer. I absolutely want to present it myself. Kevin, you go ahead with the subcontractor meeting as planned." Saying this, Emily looked at me, her eyes widening as she realized who I was, and started to panic despite her crutches. "Mr. Turner, are you here? I apologize." I quickly responded. No, you're on crutches? Please, take it easy. Are you all right?" Though I was flustered, Emily shook her head and said, "Thank you for your concern. I'm fine." Then she glared sharply at Kevin. "What are you doing? Greet him. He's Mr. Turner, president from the Japan headquarters." Upon hearing this, Kevin panicked and exclaimed, "What? Mr. Turner from the headquarters? I apologize," and turned to me to apologize. "You didn't know his face. You can't be serious." Emily muttered to Kevin in a low voice. I chuckled. "Don't worry about it. It's only my second time visiting the American branch, and I don't show my face often, so it's natural not to recognize me. But Emily, you seem well informed." When I mentioned this, Emily quickly looked up. "Yes, I've read every interview from start to finish and have been looking forward to meeting you today. You started a company with Vice President Aita Suzuki in Japan, and after your game app hit it big, you set up this American branch." Emily explained my background with sparkling enthusiasm. As Emily mentioned, I had founded an IT company in Japan with Arata, whom I became close to during my university days. We developed several apps and software, and as we continued to grow, one of our games became a hit. Noticing the high number of downloads in the US, aita and I decided to establish an American branch a few years ago. Emily, who knew my background so well, must be a talented employee. I was involved in the interviews when setting up the American branch, but I don't recall Emily and Kevin. After the setup, I entrusted all HR matters to the HR department here. Probably, Emily joined us mid-career, but I was pleased that such a dedicated employee had joined us. It's a bit embarrassing but also very gratifying. Thank you. Are you participating in the competition later? I'm looking forward to it, I said as I prepared to leave, but then paused. Kevin, was it? Even if urgent matters come up, try not to rudely change the plans of subcontractors. They are important people involved in our app development. I said this gently with a smile, trying not to apply too much pressure. Kevin turned pale, so I quickly added, I'm not angry. Personally, I don't feel too important. I maintain a fairly friendly dialogue with the staff, much like aita, who appointed me president. At the Japan headquarters, there isn't a strong sense of hierarchy. Especially since neither aita nor I believe in the absolute authority of superiors, our company culture in Japan is relatively lenient. I wanted the American branch to have good communication as well, but it tends to become rigid. I left the scene with a smile, trying to mediate the situation. At the subsequent meeting, I was in for a surprise. The American branch was hosting a competition to develop a new game app. All the entries were interesting, but Emily's app was outstanding. I reviewed her profile and found out she had joined just a year ago. Although her previous job was also in IT and details were confidential due to non-disclosure agreements, her skills were proven, and she had a high internal rating within her first year. Unsurprisingly, her app was unanimously chosen as the winner of the competition. We held several meetings, including with Emily, to finalize the details, and then the meeting adjourned. As I was about to leave the conference room, Emily suddenly exclaimed, Several of us turned at Emily's cry. Her eyes were directly fixed on me. She seemed to struggle with her words, trembling slightly, so I approached her. Amid other employees, Emily opened her mouth as if gathering all her courage. Mr. Turner, do you have any time during your stay in the US? Faced with her pleading gaze, I felt bewildered. I'd really like to discuss various things with you, Mr. Turner. Could you possibly spare some time for me? Standing there on crutches, shaking, I hastened to respond. Some employees murmured that it was inappropriate, but was it really? Of course, I'd definitely like to hear more from such an excellent employee like you. My schedule is packed, but how about tomorrow night? We could celebrate your victory in the competition as well. As I said this, Emily's cheeks flushed. I felt like I had seen that expression somewhere before. Unable to recall immediately and having other appointments, I exchanged contact information with Emily and headed to my next destination. The next day, to celebrate, I reserved a private room at a Mexican restaurant. Taking Emily's crutches into account, I made sure to arrange for an easily accessible seat. It had been a while since I last enjoyed Mexican foods. Probably, I was more excited than Emily. Sitting down with a nervous look, Emily placed something on the table before even opening the menu. What? I was taken aback when I saw the object. It was the small game console I had made from parts, the first one I ever crafted in my life. Could it be? As I spoke with a trembling voice, tears welled up in Emily's eyes. I finally found you. My name is Emily, the girl you gave this game to on the airplane. You're Adam, right? Like a broken doll, I nodded vigorously. Emily said, "Thank you for that time. My brother's surgery was successful, and he's still doing well." her eyes brimming with tears as she smiled. Emily had cherished the game console ever since, often remembering me. As a kind brother, she probably remembered me more fondly than I deserve. Inspired at that moment by the fact that I could create a game from scratch, she decided to pursue a similar path. She studied programming and joined an IT company, working relentlessly. On a whim, she searched for my name on the internet, which she had tucked away in her memory. The search hit on my name as the president of an IT company in Japan, receiving interviews. Adam Turner. The name that appeared when she completed the small game. The photo in the interview article matched the face she vaguely remembered. Then she learned about the establishment of the American branch. Since the mid-career hiring was open, I quickly prepared my resume, scheduled an appointment, and got interviewed. Emily said with a charming smile. As just another employee, she thought she'd never catch the eye of the president of the headquarters. So, she worked furiously. Then, she heard about the competition. Knowing that the president from the headquarters would be visiting, Emily poured all her efforts into developing the app. It was very well done, so, you did it for me. You should have sent an email, I said with a smile. Emily made a face as if the idea were preposterous. Me, send an email to the president of the headquarters? I wouldn't dare. And yet here I am, asking for a dinner like this. Emily bashfully looked down. I thought about improving communication within the American branch. As I pondered, Emily nervously looked up at me. I might as well say it while I'm at it. I've always had a crush on you, Mr. Turner. Ever since I was little. This little game console gave me courage. It was nice to know that she admired me, but I was surprised that her feelings had developed into a romantic interest. So, if you are currently unattached, would you consider dating me? I found myself a bit troubled. I'm sorry, I did think of you when I got on the plane yesterday, but it was more like wondering if you're doing well, or remembering you fondly. It's not the same as the feelings you have for me. I tried to choose my words carefully, but they didn't quite fit right. Besides, you're quite a bit younger than me. I'm an old man, and it might not be a good match. 8 years. As I stuttered and scratched my head, Emily interjected. Back then, I was just a 10-year-old child, but now I'm 34, and there's only an 8-year age gap between us. It's not that significant. Indeed, when put that way, it might just be 8 years. However, as I still hesitated, Emily looked at me pleadingly. If you're not seeing anyone, could we at least give it a try? Will you give me a chance? It was a long-held affection. Perhaps it wouldn't hurt to respond. Yet, I am a plain man who has become the president of a Japanese company but has almost no experience with women. She has idealized the kind brother from the plane too much. She doesn't really know the real me. What if she were to find out and say, "You're not what I expected"? That would hurt me too. How pathetic. I thought to myself, but this is just the way I am after 42 years, and there's nothing I can do about it. Let's start by keeping in touch then. I'll be going back to Japan the day after tomorrow, and won't be in America for a while. With the time difference, we might not be able to communicate much. During that time, if you feel that the real me is different from the ideal you have, I hope you can gently distance yourself. When I proposed this rather pitiful compromise, Emily burst into tears of joy. I regretted just a little being so kind to her on that plane. I felt guilty for having bound her to me for so long. Months passed. Contrary to my expectations that she would give up soon, Emily kept in frequent contact. Our text exchanges were sporadic due to the time difference, but there was no blame. When our schedules aligned, we switched to video calls. I'm not a fan of video calls, even for work. I don't like seeing my own face on the screen, even if it's just a small image. Yet, Emily always says handsome when she sees my face. Every time she says it, I feel embarrassed but also genuinely pleased. If I look tired, she notices even through the screen and tries to end the call early to let me rest, saying cute things like, "I'll send you some energy." Talking to her isn't very tiring, and despite being 8 years younger, we get along well. Gradually, I started to like her. I was slowly falling for her sincere affection. I became desperate to see her. 3 months later, I visited America again. I arrived at night, but Emily came to meet me at the airport. We had dinner together at a restaurant inside the airport, then strolled around a bit. Desperate to touch her, I nervously reached out and took Emily's hand. She was surprised but then squeezed back firmly. My heart pounded wildly. Feeling restless but determined, I led Emily to an observation deck I had researched beforehand, where we could watch airplanes. She came with me, sniggling close. The observation deck was chilly and nearing closing time, so it was sparsely populated. We sat down side by side and watched the planes. "Mr. Turner, ever since I met you on that plane, I've loved airplanes." She still calls me Mr. Turner. We're not in a relationship, so she makes a point of not mentioning my name. Initially, I felt reassured by that distance, but eventually, I started craving more and felt unsatisfied just being called Mr. Turner. I apologized for something I'd been thinking about for a long time. "I'm sorry. It's my fault for being kind to you back then, Emily. You've been trapped by me ever since." As I said this, Emily hurriedly tried to argue. I stopped her. "Unless I let go of these feelings, I can't move forward." After realizing how long I'd been holding you back, I was nearly crushed by guilt. I underestimated the feelings of a 10-year-old girl. Emily muttered, looking down. "It was all my doing. I just fell for you on my own. Just a slightly precocious girl." Her murmur made me smile a bit. "As a form of atonement, I've created an app," I said, sending the file to her email address. "Would you try it out?" Emily nodded and launched the app. There it was, a nostalgic shooting game. It was the first shooting game I ever made. Emily had been disappointed that the old console no longer worked. So, I revived it as an app. Emily easily completed the game with a few taps. I thought it would be a bit more challenging, she said with a smile, but I looked down. "What's wrong?" she asked, and I replied without looking up. "Just keep looking at the screen, please." After saying that, a small sigh could be heard. I could tell that Emily caught her breath. She must have been captivated by what was now displayed on the app. I did something rather cheesy for me. The screen Emily is looking at right now, it should be displaying, "I've decided to come back to America. Will you go out with me? Adam Turner." This message should be appearing along with an image of a bouquet. I had always wanted to return to America. When downloads of our games increased in the US, I proposed setting up a US branch. Aita had noticed my secret desire. When I told Aita about the status of the US branch, he suggested, "How about you as the head of the US branch?" It was an offer I couldn't refuse, and with a wink, Aita said, "You've always wanted to come back, haven't you?" Eventually, the decision was made to appoint Aita as president of the Japanese headquarters and a US branch president, who was fluent in Japanese, as vice president. This was to be announced tomorrow. After presumably reading the message, Emily shook me vigorously, and I reluctantly looked up. The message had already disappeared from the app. "How about it?" I asked, my face flushed, and Emily hugged me tightly. "I'm so happy. Really happy. Really, are you coming back to America? Will you go out with me?" She had loved me since we were children, and knowing the real me, she was still this happy. It brought me to tears. I wrapped my arms around her back and hugged her tightly. Yes. Sorry for making you wait. Thanks for loving me all these years. I'll definitely make you happy. I'll make up for the 22 years and fill them with happiness. Trembling with emotion, I vowed to Emily. Then, Adam. Emily whispered my name by my ear. Surprised, I looked at her face. She was blushing and smiling. Adam, I love you. I replied with the same words. I love you too, Emily. As the sound of the airplane taking off filled the air, we shared our first kiss. Years later, I can hear our children playing loudly with their phones in the living room. It seems our son has fallen to the floor, perhaps defeated, as our daughter struggles to snatch the phone from his hand, their cries of "give it here" and "no way" mingling. Hey, you've had your turn, right? Let her have it. Emily's voice softly scolds our son. Sulking, he seems to have handed over the phone to his sister. Now, I can hear our daughter's joyous voice. I'm in the study, working while listening to my family. It's a weekend, and I should be at the office due to some pending cases, but I wanted to be near my family, so I'm working remotely. I'm so glad for this convenient world. As I work with a grin, the door to the study opens. Why not take a break? I made cookies. My ever-beautiful wife, Emily, peeks in. Let's take a break. I've been smelling something sweet and getting hungry. Saying this, I put my computer to sleep and stand up. As Emily smoothly enters the study, I kiss her lightly on the forehead. Emily, blushing, returns the gesture with a kiss on my cheek. I wonder if I've managed to make her as happy as she has loved me over the years. Whether she knows my farts or not, Emily always shows me a contented smile. With Emily, no matter what uncertainties we face, I know we can overcome them together. I leave the study, heading to the living room where our children are waiting.
I always thought being a pilot was my calling. But it was cruelly snatched away from me in an unjust manner. I should stop thinking about it. Just as I decided to stop thinking and was about to close my eyes to sleep, it happened. With a tremendous bang, the whole plane shook violently. Screams erupted from the passengers. Please, someone help. In the midst of the chaos, a flight attendant with a look of despair was pleading for help. Hey, are you okay? What happened? I pressed her for answers. Little did I know, this action would lead to such a situation. My name is Shane. I used to fly around the world as a pilot. Yes, up until just a moment ago that was certainly the case. Ah. I let out a sigh of frustration with myself. Why did this have to happen? Even now, I can't accept it. But there was nothing I could do. I clenched the termination notice I was holding. It all started with a certain aviation accident. It happened during a flight one day. That day, I boarded the plane as the captain. Good morning, Jared. I'm counting on you today. Yes, thank you. The co-pilot that day was a junior of mine named Jared. He was a newly minted co-pilot, but being the son of Mr. Johnson, the head of the aviation bureau, he was highly expected by everyone around. I'm planning to let Jared handle the controls once we're stable. If there's anything you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask. Just because you became a captain a bit earlier than others, doesn't make you great. What? Did you say something? No, nothing. Jared seemed like a serious young man, but at times he muttered under his breath, making it hard to understand what he was thinking. Well, I thought it was normal to not get along with one or two colleagues, so I didn't pay much attention to Jared and focused on my duties. Alright, we're about to land soon. Jared, you did pretty well. Ah, thank you. I had been letting Jared gain some experience by occasionally letting him control the flight, and just as the day's flight was about to end smoothly, it happened. With a loud bang, the aircraft shook violently. Could it be a bird strike? A flock of birds appeared in my field of view. I quickly assessed the situation and gripped the control stick. Jared, contact the air traffic controller. It's a bird strike. The engine is damaged. Ask for guidance to a possible landing spot. I tried to remain calm as I gave out instructions. Okay. Jared's face turned pale, but he managed to follow my instructions. It's not surprising. Accidents like this rarely happen. Jared, don't panic. This is the time to stay calm, observe your surroundings, and assess the situation. It's okay. I'll handle the rest. While continuing to control the plane, I racked my brain on how to overcome this predicament. Strangely, I always seem to naturally know the best course of action in such situations. However, this time, we were forced to land at an unplanned airport. Fortunately, there were no injuries, but it goes without saying that the accident caused quite a stir. And at that time, I had no idea that this incident would lead to such consequences. That day, I compiled the accident report. Thanks to you following instructions properly, we managed to minimize the damage. Thanks. No problem. Well, all that's left is to submit the report, and then we're done for today. Shane? I was stopped by Jared calling me. I turned to him, wondering what was unusual. What's up? Well, I'll submit the report. I have some other business over there too. Okay. Got it. I appreciate it. Yes. Leave it to me. Excuse me then. Saying this, Jared left. I could say that my action at that moment made it all go wrong. The next day, I was wrongfully accused. Wait. There must be some mistake. I don't remember submitting such a report. No one would listen to my desperate plea. The contents of the report I submitted the day before had been tampered with by someone. According to the falsified report, the plane accident was due to my piloting error resulting in an emergency landing. I didn't want to believe it. But there was only one person who could have done this. Shane, you're not good at giving up. Why don't you just admit your mistake? Jared. I glared in the direction of the voice. There was Jared, looking down on me with disdain in his eyes. As I was struck dumb by the shock, Jared quietly approached and whispered in my ear. I don't care if you're the fastest ever genius pilot to become a captain, you've always been an eyesore. Please disappear from my life as soon as possible. With those words spoken lowly, Jared gave me a cold smile. In the end, all my arguments were dismissed, and I was fired, ostensibly to take responsibility for the accident. Additionally, my pilot's license was revoked. Suddenly stripped of the job I had dedicated everything to, I was at a loss. Come to think of it, it's been a while since I've been home. Suddenly, I thought of my parents. Maybe I should visit them. Despite the circumstances, it might be a good opportunity to think positively. I took out my phone and decided to call home. Hello, this is Alice. After a few rings, my mom answered the phone. Ah, Mom. It's Shane. Oh, Shane. It's been a while, what's up? Sorry to spring this on you, but I'm thinking of coming over. Oh, really? What is it? Shane, are you going to introduce us to a girlfriend? Unfortunately, no. Sorry, Mom, I just felt like coming back. I see. Alright then. Oh, Shane, hold on a second. Your father wants to talk too. After a pause, I heard my father's voice from the other end. Shane? Yeah, Dad, it's been a while. You're coming home, aren't you? Yeah. What, are you bringing home a wife? No, that's not it. What's with you and Mom both going on about that? I couldn't help but laugh. Perhaps my dad and Mom could sense that I wasn't quite myself. Well, if you're coming home, it means you can relax for a bit, right? Stay as long as you like. Thanks, Dad. I hung up the phone and took a deep breath. It's been a while since I heard their voices. I felt a warm sensation spreading slowly inside my chest. Alright, let's go home. For now, I decided not to think about anything and just head back to my family home. I quickly booked a plane ticket. A few days later, I boarded the plane I had reserved to go home. My seat is here. I found my seat and sat down. Although I was used to flying, being a passenger felt strangely different. Can I never go back to being a pilot? The thought brought a surge of fear. At the same time, I lamented internally about how things had come to this. I had always thought being a pilot was my true calling. But it had been unfairly ripped away from me. No. I should stop thinking about it. Regretting it now wouldn't help. There was nothing I could do about it anymore, I reminded myself. Actually, being a passenger isn't so bad. I peered out the small airplane window. The plane was just taking off, quickly gaining altitude. As I watched the land slowly recede below, I started to doze off. That was when a tremendous impact shook the entire cabin. Screams filled the air. What the? I was instantly wide awake. I looked out the window. This is... A flock of birds entered my view. It was just like that time. How can this be happening again? Such a coincidence. I hadn't expected to face this situation twice in such a short period. It was a bird strike. As I was thinking about whether the aircraft and pilots were okay, the plane suddenly tilted sharply, causing a larger wave of screams. This isn't good. The cabin was in utter panic. Some people tried to stand up while others crouched and cried out. As I was pondering what I could possibly do, it happened. Please, someone help. Amidst the chaos, a flight attendant with a look of despair was pleading for help. Hey, are you okay? Unable to just sit there, I confronted her. What happened? You are. I'm a pilot. Is there anything I can do to help? Really? Oh, please help. The captain has passed out from the shock. The captain has. What about the co-pilot? I asked, and she looked dismayed. That's the thing, the co-pilot today is a rookie, and Whoa. The plane shook violently again, and I managed to catch the stumbling flight attendant and stand up. We can't just sit here, come with me, please. Yes, yes. Together with the flight attendant, I made my way to the cockpit. We raced down the long aisle of the shaking cabin and finally reached the cockpit. Are you okay? Who are you? Calm down. I might not look it, but I'm an experienced captain, keep holding the controls. I'll take over now. As I had heard, the co-pilot was indeed a young man, his eyes brimming with tears as he panicked. While calming him down, I first checked on the captain, who was unconscious in the pilot's seat. Good, he has a pulse and he's breathing. It seemed the captain's life was not in danger. After checking on him, I addressed the young co-pilot. Swap with me. You contact the control tower. Request an emergency landing. Can you do that? Yes, yes. I took over the controls from the co-pilot. I never thought I would be handling these controls again, yet they fit comfortably in my hands. It's okay, I will save everyone. I had lied about being a pilot. After all, I no longer had that qualification. But I couldn't just stand by. I was here to save the lives in front of me once again. Permission for emergency landing granted. Understood. Hey, can you make the announcement to the passengers? We're starting the landing approach. Yes, yes. Slowly, the aircraft began to respond to my commands. I aimed for the runway where we were cleared to land and started the landing procedures. I don't remember much of what happened next. I was completely focused. When the airplane touched down on the runway and finally stopped, cheers and applause erupted from the passengers. Phew, that was a bit tense. I released the control stick I had been gripping tightly. My shirt was soaked with sweat. The plane had landed safely. Fortunately, there were no injuries among the passengers, and after evacuating them, we managed to get the injured captain into an ambulance and I could finally take a breath. It's finally over. Excuse me. I turned around at the voice from behind. There stood the flight attendant and the young co-pilot from earlier. Oh, you are? Yes. Thank you so much. You saved all the passengers, the captain, and my brother and me too. Your brother? Yes, that's me. She's my sister and, oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Michael. As he spoke, the young co-pilot handed me his business card. I am Claire, his sister. Thank you so much for your help. May I ask your name? As I took their business cards, I hesitated. They are both former colleagues of mine, so to speak. Naming myself might complicate matters. As I debated whether to reveal my identity, Michael looked intently at my face, then suddenly seemed to recognize something. Sorry if I'm mistaken, you're Shane, right? Yes, what, you knew? Of course. Oh, I'm actually a fan of yours. I've always admired you, Shane. Becoming a pilot like you has been my dream. I really look up to you. Haha, is that so? Thanks. But if you know about me, you know, right? I'm no longer Shane. Michael started to say something with a hint of sadness, glanced at his sister Claire, and then they both nodded slightly. Shane, there's something we'd like to tell you. What is it? What happened? Well, ever since you left the airline, there's been quite a stir among your peers. A stir? People are saying that maybe you were framed. I still can't believe it, that you made a piloting error. That is. Excuse me for interrupting. Just then, a man called out from a short distance away. As I looked up, the man approached, displaying a police badge. After studying each of our faces in turn, he focused on me. You're Shane, right? Yes. My name is Aaron. May I have a word with you? Aaron, the officer, had a friendly, fatherly demeanor. Still a bit wary, I nodded at him. Yes, sure. Thank you for cooperating. Just want to ask about what happened in the plane earlier, and you too, Claire and Michael. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Now, if we could start. Aaron began to ask us in detail about what had occurred on the plane. After we finished explaining everything, he nodded, saying and tilted his head thoughtfully. Just one thing I want to confirm. Shane, your current job is. I'm sorry. It's true I was a pilot, but I'd been stripped of my license. I wasn't supposed to be flying a plane. Lying wouldn't help. I decided to come clean about everything. Shane. May I speak? Claire looked at me worriedly, and Michael quickly interjected. About the incident earlier, if Shane hadn't taken over the controls, there's a high chance we would have crashed. It's my fault for being inadequate. If anyone is to blame, it's also on me. He was just a passenger on that plane and I asked him for help. He simply responded to that request. Claire added. Shane isn't at fault. If he hadn't been there to pilot the plane, who knows what would have happened to us passengers and us. All right, calm down, everyone. Aaron said, looking a bit troubled, calming us down. Then, he paused as if thinking something over, and spoke up. If what you're saying is true, it would be wrong to punish Shane. It was an emergency situation involving human lives. Don't worry about that aspect, I'll take care of it. Really? Thank you. But there's one thing that bothers me. As he spoke, Aaron glanced briefly at me. Why would a pilot as skilled as Shane have his license revoked? That is. Hesitating slightly, I looked towards Michael and Claire. Both seemed to have made some resolve, nodding firmly. I nodded back slightly and turned again towards Aaron. Aaron, may I tell you something? I decided to tell Aaron about the accident. I confessed everything to Aaron about the accident and the subsequent issues with the report. And so, the report I wrote was tampered with. I see, so there's darkness in the upper echelons of every world, huh? Aaron, who had listened to my story in silence, frowned thoughtfully. Michael and Claire approached him as if clinging to hope. I knew it. So the rumors were true. Aaron, can the police just leave this matter alone? Aaron, can you investigate this matter? Well, it gets quite complicated when the upper levels are involved. From Aaron's reaction, it seemed delving deeper into this issue might indeed be dangerous. I raised my hand to Michael and Claire, urging them to calm down. Both of you, it's okay. But Aaron, if you can, please keep an eye out so this doesn't happen again. Wait, Shane. This time, Aaron interrupted, extending his arm decisively. He then nodded as if making a decision. Shane, I promise to do everything I can regarding this matter, but you'll have to cooperate with any inquiries or provide information. Of course. You two as well. While saying this, Aaron gave a slight smile, trying to lighten the mood. Afterward, as promised, Aaron actively investigated the incident. As evidence of his efforts, I, being directly involved, was questioned repeatedly by various people. As I have stated from the beginning, the accident was not due to a piloting error but was caused by a bird strike, as I had written in the report. How many times had I repeated this testimony? Though it grew tiresome towards the end, I endured it, reminding myself it was all thanks to Aaron's efforts. Finally, my claims were acknowledged, and the co-pilot at the time, Jared, who had manipulated the information, was revealed and dismissed. Thus, I was allowed to return to my role as a pilot. That night, Aaron invited me out for drinks. In a casual bar, we clinked frosty beer mugs. Ah! Beer really does taste better after a victory. Indeed. Aaron's beaming smile told the whole story. He must have gone through a lot due to this ordeal. Aaron, I'm sorry for the trouble. It must have been hard digging into the truth, right? Oh no, Shane, no need for apologies. More importantly, congratulations on getting your job back. Man, you did well. The interrogations must have been tough. Well done. It's all thanks to you, Aaron. Really, thank you. That's all right. Oh, I'm just glad we could save you this time. Wondering what he meant, I looked at Aaron's face. He had a contemplative look, as if gazing into the distance. After taking another sip of beer, Aaron began to speak slowly. I had a story from the past. I had a subordinate I particularly looked out for. A man with an upright character, just like you. And him now. He quit, just like you. He was made to take the blame for something he didn't do. That's tough. At that time, I couldn't defend him. Being part of the organization, I couldn't go against the orders from above. I still regret that moment. Aaron finished the remaining beer in his mug and turned to face me. It seems I was projecting him onto you. That's why I wanted to help this time. Sorry, did I cause you trouble? Not at all. Is that so? Then I'm glad. Aaron smiled broadly, beer foam still clinging to his lips, which made me burst out laughing involuntarily. Aaron, you've got foam on your lip. Ha, my bad. You're still drinking, right? Excuse me, another round of beers, please. Aaron called out cheerfully. That day, I spent a delightful evening drinking to my heart's content with Aaron. Everything had been settled, and it was only some time later that I finally regained my peace of mind. In the end, I didn't really get to relax much, huh? Afterward, I did go back home as planned, but I couldn't stay for long. My parents said, "You should have stayed longer," looking disappointed, but I couldn't just stay. Alright, let's go. Today is my first flight since returning as a pilot. I head to the airport with determination. In the meeting room, there was Michael, my co-pilot for today. Next to him was Claire. Both of them greet me as soon as they see me. Shane. Good morning. Good morning. Ah, good morning. You too, I'm counting on you today. Today's flight crew includes both Michael and Claire. After what had happened, I feel a sense of camaraderie with these two. Shane, thank you so much for the other day. No, I should be the one thanking you too. After that, you both spoke up for me with the police, right? Thanks to that, I could come back like this. I'm grateful. Thanks. If we could be of help to you, Shane, we're happy too. Right, Claire? Yes, that's right. Seeing their smiles reassures me. I feel validated that taking action back then was the right decision. Shane, we have a briefing now, right? I should head to my station too, so I'll excuse myself. Ah, see you later then. Claire gracefully makes her exit from the meeting room. As I watch her leave, I notice Michael grinning beside me and turn to him. What's up? Why the big smile? Hee hee, Shane, just a little secret. She was really excited to be on the same crew as you today. Ah, and of course, I am too. Ha, is that so? I'm glad to be with you too as well. Shane. Yeah? What's up? Don't you often get told you're oblivious? About what? Never mind. Ah, my sister is going to have a hard time. Michael chuckled as if amused. I didn't fully understand, but it seemed like nothing bad. Come on, let's start the briefing. I opened the tablet and prompted Michael. Since my return as a pilot, some time had passed. Since then, I had been spending a lot of my off days with Claire and Michael. After today's flight, the three of us had planned to go out for dinner. After finishing up at work and taking a shower, I headed to the restaurant where we agreed to meet. Claire and Michael had already arrived and were waiting for me at the table. Shane, over here. Sorry for making you wait. It's okay, we just got here too. Shane, what would you like to drink? Thanks. Let me see. I peeked at the menu Claire was holding open. Across from me, Michael was watching us with a particularly big grin. What's up? Something wrong? No, it's just, you two sitting side by side like that, you look like a couple. Hey, Michael. What are you saying? That's right, Claire is beautiful and has a great personality, she wouldn't need to choose someone like me. Right, Claire? Oh, well, that's, Claire, you really need to be more assertive. Muttering to himself, Michael rummaged through his pocket. Shane, would you mind taking this? What's this, movie tickets? Yes. They were given to me, but I have a flight scheduled on this day. You're off on this day, right, Shane? Yeah, that's true, but... Great. There are 2 tickets, so I thought maybe you could invite someone to go with you. Oh, aren't you off on this day too? Oh, yeah, I am. Then it's settled. Shane, please go with my sister. With that, Michael passed the movie tickets to me. Claire, is that okay? Don't you want to invite some other friends? Yes, I'd like to go with you, Shane. Is that so? Then let's go together. Thanks, Michael. You're welcome. Have fun. And, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. What's wrong, Claire? Your face is red, are you okay? I'm fine. More importantly, Shane, have you decided on your drink? Let's order quickly. Right, almost forgot. Prompted by a somewhat flustered Claire, I chose something from the menu. Michael watched us, still smiling. Later, Claire would confess her feelings to me, and that's how our relationship would begin, but that's a story for another time. I need to assess whether you are suitable to be our guide, he said. One day, a man named Michael, the director from our headquarters, came to inspect my branch office. He was a firm believer in the importance of educational background and immediately started evaluating me, the person assigned to guide him. Assess? Yes. Which university did you graduate from? I'm sorry. I only have a high school diploma. As I responded with some confusion, Michael's face turned red with anger. What? A high school graduate is the tour guide? Yes, that's right. Is there a problem with that? It's absolutely unacceptable for someone like you, a mere high school graduate, to handle this. How impolite. Excuse me? I graduated from T University and now I'm the director. If you're going to assist me, call someone with a better education that matches mine. Well, that's if there is anyone like that in this branch. Michael smirked and repeatedly insulted me in a blatant manner. Just then, his phone rang. The caller was someone unexpected. My name is Oliver. I'm a 26-year-old office worker. Ever since I was small and physically weak, I was often bullied during my elementary school days. Looking back as an adult, those incidents don't seem so terrible, but back then, I was too timid to speak up and often found myself succumbing to the more assertive kids. I couldn't communicate well. I remember my school days. I was always pestered by a boisterous classmate who was considered a leader. Hey! Oliver! What is it, Jack? You were good at math, right? Yeah, sort of. I forgot my homework and I'm in a real bind. Can I borrow your worksheet for a bit? But last time you didn't return it after borrowing. Really? Well, never mind that. I'll copy it and return it on time this time, promise. come on, help me out. But, arg. Stop being so annoying. I'm just asking to look at it. Intimidated by his anger, I eventually handed over the worksheet. Alright, make sure to return it by third period math. Yeah, sure thing. Thanks a bunch. As soon as he got the worksheet, he returned to his seat with a grin, spouting smooth talk. I would always watch his back with resentment. This happened repeatedly. Because I was small, I was told I couldn't eat much and often had my milk or bread taken during lunch, or I was forced to do their cleaning chores. I couldn't refuse any of it because of the pressure. Whenever this happened, I would go home nearly in tears and be comforted by my mom. While my mom was always supportive, my dad was strict. Whenever he came home late at night and heard from my mom about the bullying at school, he would come to my room to lecture me. Oliver, I heard you had a rough time at school again today. Yeah. Jack was terrible. Today he forced me to do his duty, even though I had cram school. I see. And what did you say to Jack? Huh? Did you clearly tell him, it's your turn to do it, so you should be doing it? I couldn't possibly say that. Jack is bigger and louder. Listening to my excuses, my father quietly shook his head. Oliver, I always tell you. It's very important to clearly express your thoughts to others. I know that might be true, but still. Staying silent is just like not having any opinions or will of your own. You do have thoughts and feelings, don't you, Oliver? It's all this enduring that makes things tough, my dad said. Yeah, I replied quietly. You need to communicate that to your friends properly. Do you think I can? Of course. Even Jack will understand if you explain it properly. It's important to convey what you dislike and what makes you happy. Wouldn't you be happier knowing what your friends think of you? Yes, that's true. Don't worry. You can do it. Repeatedly receiving this advice from my dad, I gradually became able to clearly express my feelings to those around me. Despite my initial reluctance. Eventually, Jack began to understand when I spoke up clearly, and by the time we graduated from elementary school, we had developed a good friendship. Not only with Jack, but I think my communication with all my classmates improved. Looking back, if I didn't speak up, people wouldn't know what I was thinking, and they would assume I would take on any request, branding me as the nice guy who couldn't say no. I realized I had just been retreating into my shell, playing the victim without expressing my own opinions. And I was able to squarely face and improve on my issues. All thanks to my father's teachings. Then, through middle and high school, I made many friends, and unlike my elementary school days, I became someone who could clearly express his own opinions, and I noticed a significant change in how my peers viewed me. I was entrusted with roles like class representative, student council member, and festival committee member. I could talk to anyone without hesitation, and my straightforward attitude earned me respect and trust from both teachers and classmates alike. While most of my classmates aimed for college, I chose to work right away. I knew what I wanted to do and wanted to gain experience as soon as possible. I joined a mid-sized trading company dealing with electronic components. They had major manufacturers as clients. From components for household appliances to parts for factory machinery, the company handled a wide range of products and was quite large. This company, led by President Anderson, who also had only a high school diploma, didn't judge people based on their educational background but valued each employee's motivation and attitude towards work, making it a great company to work for. Thus, I was assigned to a branch near the capital and started my job with great enthusiasm from day one. As a newbie, I willingly took on tedious tasks and miscellaneous duties from other departments, learning various jobs on my own and refining my processes once I mastered them. Looking back, the work was tough, but the joy of learning overshadowed the hardship. I would arrive at the office earlier than anyone else to clean, spend afternoons visiting clients, and stay late at night to handle office tasks and process invoices, nostalgic now. I also studied extensively at home to memorize a vast amount of information about parts. My first year was incredibly challenging but fulfilling. 8 years have passed since then, and my work at the branch was recognized, and I steadily built my career. The corporate relationships I had established as a newcomer expanded, turning several clients into crucial accounts for the company, and recently, I've been invited to more meetings and reporting sessions for all branches, leading to very busy days. This morning, I attended a strategic sales meeting at the headquarters with top performers from all branches. The meetings, where we discuss company challenges and strategies every 3 months, are immensely meaningful and enjoyable. And I always look forward to them. I bring back good practices and improvement suggestions from various branches to my branch to enhance our work. In the evening, after the meeting ended and I returned to the branch, I heard an unbelievable story from a colleague who had attended the meeting with me. Man, today's meeting was pretty interesting, wasn't it? Yeah. Do you think we could host a golf tournament and secure several sponsorship deals like they talked about? Maybe we should pitch the idea to our manager, David. I need to practice my golf skills, though. But man, the attitude of the people from headquarters today really pissed me off. Really? I was surprised. I hadn't noticed any such attitudes from the headquarters staff. According to my colleague, they consistently look down on the branch office employees. Didn't you notice? Even today, while you and the others from the branches were presenting your results, they were leaning back and snickering. Now that you mention it. But why? Did I say something weird? No, it's not about what you said. They look down on all branch employees. What? Why? Well, you know how there are many high school graduates at the branches? It seems they don't really value our work, thinking it's lower level just because of where we come from. That's ridiculous. I heard this from a former supervisor who transferred to headquarters last year. In meetings, they just scoff, but if you're at headquarters, you can't help but hear all the derogatory comments about branch employees. Seriously? When they talk about us, they just dismiss them as incompetent and make fun of us. Sometimes, they even deliberately postpone answering inquiries from the branches, even when they could respond immediately. It's really causing problems for our work, my colleague explained. What? Even that time? Hearing this, I felt indignant. It wasn't the first or second time I found myself worrying, why is this taking so long, while coordinating work with headquarters? Apparently, there's a pervasive belief at headquarters that they are the elite and superior, leading them to look down on branch employees. This attitude is reinforced because many branch employees have only high school diplomas and there are more people working shorter hours, which leads them to mistakenly think they're just taking it easy. Hearing this, I decided I needed to clear up this misunderstanding with the headquarters staff. After the next meeting at headquarters, I secured some extra time to present the performance of all the branches. Initially, when I approached Bradley, the sales director at headquarters, he was reluctant, saying, "It's a waste of time." However, after repeatedly arguing that ignoring the disdain for branches was detrimental to the company, he agreed to give me the time. On the day of the meeting, the headquarters staff showed up with clearly unhappy faces. Despite the unpleasant atmosphere in the conference room, I handed out the documents with a smile and took the floor. "Thank you for giving us your time after the meeting today," I began. "We're busy. Make it quick." "Of course. Please look at the materials in front of you," I continued, guiding them through the documents I had prepared for the day. These documents succinctly showed how much the branches were earning and how their diligent customer follow-ups contributed to the company's profits. I also displayed a breakdown of branch staff by educational background and workload, including the roles of part-time employees, with graphs to show that even when calculating cost performance based on sales results, everyone was actively contributing and achieving solid results. I also presented research data proving that educational background and job performance are not correlated. As I concluded the presentation, the headquarters staff listened intently with a solemn demeanor. Feeling confident, I addressed the purpose of today's presentation. Lately, even employees like me at the branches are hearing about how headquarters staff belittle our work. You're aware of this, right, Bradley? Well. I also heard the slander that we, mostly high school graduates, only do easy jobs. Well, that's... As you can see, at the branches, whether high school or college graduates, everyone, including part-time office workers, is united in contributing to the company's profits. I hope this presentation helps all of you at headquarters rethink how you view the branches. I urge you, Bradley and everyone here, not to overlook but to improve the condescending attitude towards the branches. With that, I made my plea. Bradley and the rest of the headquarters staff, having seen the figures documenting the contributions of branch employees, apologized, admitting they were unaware of our achievements. I'm sorry. I knew there was a culture of belittling the branches at headquarters, and I ignored it. In fact, I might have been guilty of underestimating the branch work myself based on misguided assumptions. It's truly shameful, Bradley. But this presentation has been an eye-opener. Far from deserving ridicule, the idea of harassing you in your work is utterly unacceptable. I'm glad you understand. From now on, I promise to change the mindset at headquarters so that there is no discrimination between headquarters and branches. And we will work together more cooperatively. Everyone here got that? Responding to Bradley's query, the headquarters staff nodded affirmatively. Thank you. Thus, my presentation was a great success. I returned to the branch with a spring in my step and shared the outcome with my colleagues and supervisors, who were all delighted. I hope this makes interactions with headquarters smoother. Since Bradley promised, it will surely improve. Yeah. If it makes work easier, we'll have to cooperate with the folks at headquarters and strive for even greater achievements. Though it's strange we had to assert ourselves just to be recognized. Yeah. I'd been bothered by that too. But it seems it will be improved, so let's accept it as a positive change. Several months later, an incident occurred. Under the pretext of understanding the inner workings of the branch, a person named Michael, the director from headquarters, came to visit. In his mid-50s with a robust build, his attitude was astonishingly arrogant. And the employees he spoke with were all universally stunned and bewildered. According to my supervisor, this Michael was the person who had fostered the culture of looking down on branch staff. And now, I was assigned to be his guide. As I began showing him around the departments, Michael, who had been sizing me up, asked about my educational background. So you're guiding, huh? I need to assess whether you are suitable to be our guide, he said. Assess? Yes. Which university did you graduate from? Ah, I'm sorry. I only have a high school diploma. What? A high school graduate is the guide. Yes, that's correct. Is there a problem with that? For someone like you, a mere high school graduate, to handle this is utterly inappropriate. Excuse me? I graduated from T University, and now I'm the director here. If someone is going to assist me, it should be someone with a better education that matches mine. Well, if there's anyone like that here at the branch. Michael smirked and blatantly ridiculed me. From then on, during the inspection period, I was subjected to various forms of harassment. He treated me like a lackey, demanding I buy him cigarettes or fetch the car, along with other unrelated chores. He also escalated his derogatory remarks about me at every opportunity. Of course, the people at the branch were angry at Michael's arrogant behavior, but since he was in a much higher position, they couldn't openly criticize him. Then one day, as soon as I arrived at work, I was called in and subjected to a tirade, but then Michael's phone rang. Yes, this is Michael. He answered the phone with a smile I had never seen before. It was apparently a call from President Anderson. President Anderson. What can I do for you? Yes. Of course, I am currently inspecting the branch. Oliver? Yes, he's right here. You want me to put him on speaker and hand him the phone? Yes, I understand. While talking to President Anderson, Michael smirked at me and, putting his phone on mute briefly, spoke to me. President Anderson wants to talk to you. What could he want with someone like you? Maybe he's going to fire a useless high school grad like you? Well, it would be better for the company if you were gone. Here, take the phone, and make sure you respond properly. Yes. Hey everyone, come here. Watch this guy get fired directly by President Anderson. Saying this, Michael took the phone off mute, turned on the speaker, and thrust it at me. As a few concerned colleagues gathered around, I took the phone from Michael. Hello, this is Oliver speaking. Oliver. I'm sorry to have put you in such an unpleasant position. At the initial exchange, Michael looked puzzled. It's unfortunate, but I couldn't entrust this role to anyone else. And it's for the company's good. That's right. Thanks to you, I've come to understand the reasons for the bad atmosphere at headquarters. I didn't want to believe it. But it's regrettable. Everything I've reported is as I've observed firsthand over the past week. One should have capable sons like you. At President Anderson's words, Michael, who had been smirking confidently, suddenly turned pale with shock. In fact, I was President Anderson's son. My desire was to succeed my father and further grow the company. That's why, instead of going to university, I chose to gain work experience by joining the company. Having worked from the ground up at the branch, I had recently started to frequent headquarters and reported the negative atmosphere there to my father without concealment. So, you're President Anderson's son? Yes. I have been at this branch as part of my training, but I cannot tolerate the disdain shown by headquarters staff toward the branch. And I have reported your behavior as one of the causes. What? As Michael turned pale, I smiled smugly. You've ridiculed me a lot, haven't you? Saying a high school graduate was incompetent. If I can't work, I should at least go buy your cigarettes. Right. You were joking about getting fired by President Anderson. Well, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't know. I would never have said such things if I had known. So you wouldn't have said it if you knew I was President Anderson's son? Of course not. Don't be absurd. Judging people only by their educational background or title, and you'd ridicule them if they weren't the president's son. No one deserves to be treated that way. Please, forgive me. Michael collapsed to the ground, trying to appeal to me pitifully, but I brushed off his hand. Then, still on speaker, President Anderson's calm voice could be heard. Michael. We have no need for someone like you in our company. President Anderson. Please. I'll say it again. You're fired. That's unbelievable. Thus, Michael staggered out of the branch with unsteady steps. I later heard that he headed straight to the headquarters. However, by the time he arrived, his seat at the headquarters had already been removed. While Michael was inspecting my branch, the headquarters was already conducting an inquiry into his behavior due to his negative stance on branch contributions and the friction he caused with various people. It was discovered that Michael had been taking credit for some of the achievements of the branch staff. His previous arrogant behavior and actions that constituted harassment towards subordinates and colleagues had come to light. And to make matters worse, the report I submitted reached President Anderson, which was the final straw. Thus, Michael, who had been poisoning the company's atmosphere, was ousted from the company. After Michael left the company, discussions were held among all employees on how to build a system to prevent similar incidents in the future. Among various opinions, there was almost unanimous agreement that it was essential to create an open work environment where everyone could speak freely. It was decided to establish an internal reporting system where HR would handle any instances of oppressive behavior that could stifle employees, reinforcing that it is crucial for every employee to be able to express their opinions freely. Slogans to this effect were also posted around the workplace. The company is made up of each and every employee. As a result, all employees' contributions began to be properly recognized, interactions between headquarters and branches increased, and we were able to undertake large projects that had been difficult for branches to handle alone. The company's performance is currently on an upward trajectory. I intend to continue expressing my opinions clearly, listening attentively to others, and fostering mutual understanding to maintain positive communication. 5 years had passed since then, but Kelsey was still stunningly beautiful. Excited about the reunion with my ex-girlfriend, I couldn't sleep that night. Here's to Tyler's birthday and our reunion, cheers! With that, my friend Josh called for a toast, and everyone simultaneously raised their glasses. Feeling a bit ticklish inside, I joined in the toasting with everyone, and then took a sip from my glass of gin and tonic. Let's drink up and celebrate today! As I exchanged smiles with Josh, I felt truly blessed to have such good friends. I'm Tyler, a 30-year-old single office worker. Today, in celebration of my birthday, for close college friends and I planned a 3-day stay at a fancy hotel in downtown New York. One of them had won a free stay at a luxury hotel in a magazine sweepstakes. All of us were from New York, but since some friends worked elsewhere, we gathered to splurge on luxury at the hotel and visit the latest hotspots in New York. It had been a while since we last met, but we were having a great time. As the drinks flowed, the conversation naturally turned to personal topics, and I was asked by Josh, "So, Tyler, have you found a girlfriend yet?" At the mention of girlfriend, I sobered up a bit and replied with a smile, "Unfortunately, not yet." Then, led by Josh, everyone encouraged me, saying, "Tyler, you're a handsome guy, you could find someone easily if you put your mind to it." Their words were much appreciated, but deep down, I wasn't ready to start a new relationship. In fact, there was a woman I hadn't been able to forget, even 5 years after we broke up. Working for a major advertising company, I had been in the PR department at the headquarters 5 years ago when I was 25. That's when I met Kelsey, who was working at a major design company during a business deal. At that time, I was 25 years old, and Kelsey, who was 2 years younger, was a 23-year-old. I was immediately charmed by her, as she was not only excellent at her job but also exuded elegance. With her fair skin and cherry lips, she was strikingly lovely. There was a reason for her elegant demeanor. Kelsey's father was a wealthy man, and she was raised as a lady from a prestigious family. Upon learning this, I worried if someone like me, from an ordinary family, could ever match up to her. But Kelsey was always friendly and approachable. "Tyler, hard day at work, cheers." "Cheers." Saying that, the two of us clinked our glasses. Just hearing her initiate a toast was enough to recharge me, no matter how tired I was from work. Our time together was always comforting. As our business interactions grew more frequent, we started going out for drinks regularly and began dating. However, her father didn't think too highly of me. Coming from a very ordinary family and having graduated from a regular private university, I was not seen as a suitable match for Kelsey, who had attended a prestigious university. However, every time, Kelsey encouraged me. Indeed, my father opposes our relationship for now, but he understands how dedicated you are to your work. Ultimately, he'll accept us because my happiness comes first. Let's take it easy. Kelsey smiled at me kindly, so I said, "Thank you," and gave myself a pep talk. Determined to be united with the woman I love, I resolved to work even harder. But things took an unexpected turn, and I was suddenly transferred to a regional branch. The unexpected transfer had shaken me, but my boss at the time encouraged me wholeheartedly. He had been sent to a regional office in his 20s just like me, but his achievements there had earned him a promotion back to headquarters. Hearing this, I spurred myself on, thinking, I won't give up. I'll do my best with the tasks at hand. But now that the transfer was decided, I first needed to tell Kelsey. When I told her, she said, "I want to come with you," which made me want to propose to her then and there. If Kelsey was willing to commit her life to me, I wanted to love her with all I had. However, I suddenly received a message from Kelsey's father saying, "I want to meet just the two of us." Thinking that I needed his blessing if I was to propose, I agreed to meet. When I arrived at the cafe he had chosen, Kelsey's father greeted me with a stern face, making me nervous. "Tyler, thank you for coming all this way today. I apologize, but as a father, I must ask you to break up with Kelsey." Oh no. I knew he was opposed, but I couldn't let go of Kelsey just yet. As I was about to argue, Kelsey's father started explaining his reasons. My wife was recently diagnosed with a severe illness and given a limited time to live. Kelsey doesn't know yet. But I want her to be by her side in her last moments. Realizing that it would be too much to ask Kelsey to come with me in such circumstances, her father continued. Kelsey has her own career, and I want her to marry someone suitable. Hearing this, I felt a stark awakening. I had been selfish, but as her father mentioned, Kelsey had built her career where she was. It would be wrong to disrupt her life when I wasn't even guaranteed a return to the headquarters. Finally, Kelsey's father said, "I'm sorry, but I'd like you to keep quiet about our meeting today to my daughter," and then he left the cafe first. Though I had been determined to be with her, I now felt a sense of despair that it might never happen. Perhaps I was not the right match for Kelsey after all. Without telling her about the meeting with her father, I broke up with her, and she was initially shocked. "Did I do something to make you hate me?" Seeing her light brown eyes moisten, I felt a tightness in my chest. I couldn't hate her. I still truly loved Kelsey. That's why I had to break up with her. Sorry, but with the transfer to the regional office, I'm pretty shaken up. I'm overwhelmed with my own issues. So I don't think I can be there for you. Kelsey simply said, I understand, and ultimately accepted the breakup. But even after 5 years, I still couldn't forget her, nor had I fallen for anyone else. As I was drinking, thinking of Kelsey, I couldn't get as drunk as I hoped. The other members seemed to be having a good time, so we decided to head back to our rooms to prepare for tomorrow. Tyler, are you okay? You didn't seem to drink much. Of course. It was really fun drinking with everyone after so long. I'm just going to stop by the shop, go ahead back to the room. Wanting to cool down, I told Josh and started wandering around the hotel lobby. That's when I saw something shocking. Kelsey was sitting alone on a lounge sofa. Overwhelmed, I walked over to her and asked, Kelsey, is that you? She also seemed surprised and said, What? Tyler? 5 years had passed, but she was as beautiful as ever, and my heart began to race. I never thought I would meet her here. At first, I just stood beside her and said, It's been a while. However, when told to have a seat, I took the offer and decided to sit down. We sat on the sofa together, chatting over coffee for a while. Honestly, after the way we had parted, I thought she must have completely disliked me by now, but Kelsey was as friendly and open as ever. I never thought I'd meet you here, on your birthday of all days. Ah, you remembered. What brings you to this hotel today? Curious about her reasons for staying, I asked her. No, actually. I'm staying here because I have a matchmaking meeting tomorrow noon. The mention of an unexpected matchmaking meeting hit me like a blow to the head. Yes. She's like a princess. She's 28 this year, so it's natural for her to have a matchmaking meeting. While I was trying to act natural so that Kelsey wouldn't notice my shock, she updated me on her recent life. Actually, 2 years after we broke up, my mother passed away. It would have been too much for my father alone. So staying here was probably the right decision. Hearing this, I felt truly relieved. She seemed satisfied that she could be there for her mother's last moments. A caring daughter like her would have brought her mother happiness. While enjoying our conversation, I checked the time and realized that we had been chatting for about an hour, so I decided it was time to leave. To tell you the truth, I was afraid that if I stayed any longer, I wouldn't be able to control myself. I'm sorry for keeping you, especially since you have your meeting tomorrow. No, it's okay. I was nervous about tomorrow and couldn't sleep, so it was nice talking to you. Good night. With that, we said our goodbyes and left the place. When I unlocked my room with the keycard, everyone else was already asleep, but I couldn't sleep due to the excitement. I was the one who broke up with her, and I know that staying here for her mother was the right decision. But why can't I forget about Kelsey? All night long, I thought about her and unsurprisingly, I didn't sleep a wink. Despite feeling tired, I thought I shouldn't show it to my friends, so I acted cheerful at breakfast. Today, we're going to tour New York, so I need to change my mood. However, as noon approached and we were about to leave the hotel, I started to get anxious. Kelsey was supposed to be having her matchmaking meeting at the hotel. I knew there was nothing I could do if I went back, but I couldn't help myself and lied to my friends, saying, Sorry, I forgot something at the hotel, and hurried back. I didn't understand why I was acting this way, but when I arrived at the lounge where we had spent time yesterday, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was Kelsey's father, arguing with her. And, because I had just shown up, Kelsey's father was shocked. Tyler, why are you here? You didn't orchestrate this meeting to sabotage her arrangement, did you? Confused by everything, Kelsey defended me. Dad, no. Tyler has nothing to do with this. I just hated the idea of the matchmaking meeting and ran away here. It turned out that the matchmaking meeting was a lie. And she had actually run away from home because she couldn't stand the persistent matchmaking meetings her father was pushing on her. Kelsey's father, who had often used this hotel for family events, had suspected she might be here and came looking. This chance encounter made the situation even more complicated. Despite Kelsey's objections, her father wouldn't back down. The man from the matchmaking meeting is wealthy, so you wouldn't need to work like you do now. Your late mother also wanted your happiness more than anything, so you should accept this proposal. No. I don't want a marriage like that. Why are you forcing me into this now when you supported my career until now? After breaking up with Tyler, I've poured everything into my work, and I can't just give that up. Her words made my heart race. I hadn't realized she had been so devoted to her work. I disagree with forcing her into a matchmaking meeting if she was so against it. I also oppose the matchmaking meeting if Kelsey isn't keen on it. But my words seem to backfire in the emotional turmoil. You have no say in this. Didn't I tell you before? A man who gets sent away like you isn't suitable for Kelsey and can't make her happy. What? Dad, you said that to Tyler? Overwhelmed by emotions, Kelsey was appalled that her father had revealed the truth he had intended to keep secret. That's when I decided to reveal the truth too. About that. I've actually been promoted back to the headquarters after 5 years. Oh. As expected, both were greatly surprised. Kelsey's father was so shocked he was speechless. I then explained everything. Even after we broke up, I couldn't forget Kelsey. So I worked relentlessly and, as a result of securing a major deal, I was recognized and I am now returning to the headquarters. Of course, I didn't expect we could get back together. But becoming a man worthy of her and approved by you, sir, was my only goal for the past 5 years. Yes, ever since then, I had been waiting for an opportunity to return to the headquarters. And to celebrate my return and my birthday, I was celebrating at the hotel with my friends. As Kelsey teared up from the impact of my words, her father, with a solemn expression, began to speak. I see. Kelsey, Tyler. I apologize for losing my composure earlier. I'll be staying at this hotel tonight to cool down. Afterwards, I'd like to have a proper discussion with you, Tyler, if that's alright? I hadn't expected Kelsey's father to want to talk again, just like 5 years ago. Kelsey looked worried when she heard this, but I was already planning to stay another night at the hotel, so of course, I agreed. Later that evening, when I returned to the hotel and explained everything to my friends, they were surprised but warmly saw me off. Meeting your ex on your birthday, that must be fate. Hang in there, Tyler. Thanks, everyone. I thanked my friends, including Josh, and began preparing to meet Kelsey's father at the bar he had designated. I was determined to fully commit to reuniting with Kelsey, the woman I love. After a light dinner, I headed to the bar where Kelsey's father was already waiting. As I approached him in the dimly lit bar, he encouraged me to order a drink. Once our orders arrived, Kelsey's father slowly started on the main topic. Tyler, I truly apologize for my behavior earlier. I had no idea you cared so deeply for Kelsey. Seeing him calm and able to discuss things put me at ease. He was heated because he cares so much about his daughter. It's okay. Either way, it was good that Kelsey stayed with her mother. Yes. Despite her busy work, Kelsey fully supported her mother. My wife in heaven surely wants nothing more than her daughter's happiness. That's why I've come to realize that you are the only one for her. Hearing that, I couldn't help but smile broadly. You mean? Yes. I'll permit you and Kelsey to marry. Please, take care of my daughter. Then, we toasted with our glasses and decided to drink and talk together. Though the alcohol was tough on my sleep-deprived body, I wanted to celebrate this night with good spirits. I had never thought that my feelings over the past 5 years would come to fruition, and the joy was even greater because of it. Moreover, once we started drinking, I was surprised at how easily I could speak frankly with Kelsey's father. I had always thought of him as a strict man, but in reality, he was cheerful and a kind father who deeply cared for his daughter. We drank heavily together, and by late night, stumbling back to the hotel room, arm in arm, Kelsey was astonished at our state. I can't believe you guys got this drunk. To really understand a future son-in-law, one must share a drink and talk. Right, Tyler? Exactly, father. Yes, both of you should rest now. We have to check out tomorrow, so don't oversleep. As Kelsey went to get some water to sober us up, her father looked me in the eyes intently. Tyler, I'm truly sorry. I've been a poor father, but please take care of Kelsey. No matter how drunk I was, his sincerity was painfully clear. All the quarrels have been swept away by the liquor. And yes, with pleasure. And so, even in our drunken state, we finally reconciled. When I returned to the room and I reported to Josh and the others that I had received approval for our marriage, everyone was thrilled. "Let's drink to celebrate," Josh exclaimed. So, as I expected, we drank ourselves to death that day. Thus, after a reunion spanning 5 years, Kelsey and I were reunited. Kelsey, too, had not been able to forget me while she cared for her mother and had spent all this time alone. Now back at headquarters, we were both ready to engage in fulfilling work again. How do you find being back at headquarters after 5 years, Tyler? There are still things I'm getting used to, but now that I'm back, I'm going to give it my all. That's the spirit. Let's both work hard for our ideal wedding. As Kelsey smiled, a diamond engagement ring sparkled on her ring finger. I was determined to work my hardest to make my beloved woman happy and prepare for our wedding.